Mark had always lived a quiet, predictable life. He worked as a graphic designer, lived in a small but comfortable apartment, and usually spent evenings watching films or listening to music. Nothing strange had ever happened to him until one Thursday night when his phone rang at 11 p.m. with an unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. "Hello?" At first, he heard nothing. Then he noticed slow, heavy breathing on the other end. Mark frowned. "Who is this?" The breathing grew slightly louder, then the call ended. Mark sat on the edge of his bed, confused. Probably some drunk person or a wrong number. He brushed his teeth, turned off the lights, and went to bed. But he couldn't fall asleep. Around 2:30 a.m., the phone buzzed again. Same number. Mark felt a small wave of irritation mixed with worry. He answered. "Who's calling me at this hour?" A whisper answered, soft and close. "I can see your window." Mark froze. He sat up straight and looked around his dark bedroom. What?" he said quietly. No reply came. Only the same whisper, this time more confident. "I'm closer than you think." The call ended. A cold shiver ran through Mark's body. He stood up, walked to the window, and carefully moved the curtain. The street outside was empty. Quiet. Only a streetlight flickered near the parking area. He double-checked his door lock and returned to bed, but sleep refused to come. The next morning he went to work exhausted. His friend Daniel, who worked in the same office, immediately noticed. "Mark, you look terrible. Didn't sleep?" "No," Mark said, rubbing his eyes. "Someone called me twice last night, whispering, saying they could see my window." Daniel raised his eyebrows. "Dude, that isn't funny. Did you call the police?" "Not yet. Maybe it's just a prank." Daniel shook his head. No prank keeps calling at night. Mark tried to distract himself with work, but the tension followed him. Every time his phone vibrated, even for normal notifications, his heart jumped. That evening he went home, checked his hallway carefully, then locked the door. He made tea, but his hands trembled slightly when he held the cup. At 9:42 p.m., his phone rang again. Same number. Mark's stomach tightened. He picked up the phone. "Listen," he said, trying to sound confident. "Whoever you are, stop calling me." A soft laugh came from the other end. Then the whisper returned. "You changed your lock." Mark's breath caught in his throat. He had changed the lock last month after misplacing his old keys. "How do you know that?" he whispered. The caller answered calmly. "I was there." Mark felt panic rising. His legs felt weak. "What do you want from me?" "I want to meet you," the voice said gently. "Mark." Mark's blood ran cold. He hadn't told him his name. The caller continued. "But don't worry, you'll see me soon." The call ended. Mark put the phone down with shaking hands. He stared at the door, suddenly sure that someone was watching him from the other side. Then, a soft knock. Once, then again. Very slow. Very careful. Mark's breath hitched. He backed away from the door, grabbed his phone, and called Daniel. Dan, someone is at my door. Please come here. Please hurry. I'm coming, Daniel said. Don't open the door. Stay away from it. The knocking stopped. Mark stood perfectly still, listening. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy footsteps moving away down the hallway. 15 minutes later, Daniel arrived and knocked loudly. Mark, it's me. Mark opened the door and immediately felt relief. Daniel looked angry and worried. You're coming with me, Daniel said. You're not staying alone after that. Mark agreed instantly. They left the tea quickly, but as Daniel was closing Mark's door, something caught his eye. A small folded note on the floor. He picked it up and read it. His expression changed. What is it? Mark asked. Daniel turned the note around. In neat dark letters it said, See you soon. Mark stared at the message, feeling a deep cold fear settle inside him. Daniel said, We're going to the police tomorrow. No excuses. The next day they sat across from Detective Harris, a calm woman with sharp eyes. Tell me everything from the beginning, she said. Mark described every detail, the breathing, the whisper, the words, the knock, the note. Harris listened carefully, writing in her notebook. Did you recognize the voice? Harris asked. No, Mark said. But I felt like he knew me. Have you seen anything unusual around your building recently? Mark thought for a moment, then he remembered. There was a man wearing a dark hoodie. I saw him a few times. He was standing outside the entrance, not doing anything, just watching. That's important, the detective said. Do you know him? No. I've never seen his face clearly. Harris leaned back in her chair. We'll trace the number, she said. It may lead us somewhere. Meanwhile, stay with your friend. Don't go back to your apartment alone. Mark nodded. 2 days passed. No calls. No messages. Mark started to relax a little, but something still felt wrong. On the third morning, Detective Harris called. We found something. Come to the station. Mark and Daniel arrived quickly. Harris pulled up footage from Mark's apartment building. We checked the cameras, she said. This was recorded the night someone knocked on your door. The screen showed the hallway outside Mark's apartment. A tall man in a dark hoodie stood in front of the door, holding a phone. Mark felt his mouth go dry. That's him, he whispered. The man waited, then bent down and slid a note under the door. A few seconds later, someone appeared at the far end of the hallway. Daniel. Mark watched in shock as the hooded man immediately turned and rushed down the stairs. If Daniel had arrived 30 seconds earlier, Harris said, he would have seen him face to face. Mark felt chills cover his skin. Daniel swallowed hard. Harris studied Mark's expression. "You look like you recognize him." Mark frowned. Something about the man's walk, his posture, was familiar. He closed his eyes, searching his memory. Then it hit him. 2 weeks ago, on a bus, Mark had dropped his wallet. A man in a hoodie picked it up and handed it to him. The man smiled and said, "You're lucky I found this. Someone else might use your address for something." Mark's heart started racing. He opened his eyes and whispered, "I know who he is." "Who?" Harris asked quickly. "He's the guy who returned my wallet 2 weeks ago. He saw my address, and he's been watching me ever since." Detective Harris tightened her jaw. "This is no random stalker," she said. "This is someone who chose you deliberately." Mark felt a cold wave of fear move through him. His quiet, peaceful life was gone now, replaced with uncertainty, danger, and the terrifying knowledge that someone out there wanted to meet him. And that he was getting closer,